Popular shopping center, 200 stores, food court, movie theater, 5,000 daily visitors. Families shopping, teenagers hanging out, elderly walking for exercise. Normal American retail experience. Above ground, everything was typical, legitimate, safe, public space, community gathering place. But 200 feet beneath parking garage was military fortress, 5-story underground bunker, excavated over 3 years, professional engineering, reinforced concrete, steel supports, ventilation systems, power generation, water supply, everything needed for permanent underground operation. Cartel had spent $100 million building infrastructure directly beneath family shopping destination. Perfect cover, ultimate concealment, unprecedented boldness. Each level served specific purpose. Strategic organization, military efficiency. Level 1, vehicle maintenance, armored cars, weapons trucks, escape vehicles. Mechanics worked constantly, maintaining fleet, preparing for violence. Level 2, drug storage, climate-controlled rooms, 50 tons capacity, cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, fentanyl, organized systematically, ready for distribution. Level 3, weapons armory, rocket launchers, grenades, machine guns, assault rifles, thousands of weapons, millions of rounds. Military-grade equipment, enough to wage war. Level 4, living quarters, 150 cartel soldiers, bunks, kitchen, recreation, medical facility. They lived underground, never leaving, permanent garrison, ready for anything. Level 5, command center, communications equipment, surveillance systems, war room, leadership offices, strategic planning, operational coordination, the brain of entire operation, controlling cartel activities across Southwest, all from beneath shopping mall, where families bought clothes and ate lunch. ATF had been investigating for 11 months, following suspicious construction, tracking excavation equipment, analyzing utility usage anomalies, building impossible case. Underground fortress beneath mall? Seemed like action movie. Too elaborate, too expensive, too risky. But evidence accumulated. Ground-penetrating radar showed massive voids. Thermal imaging detected heat signatures deep underground. Seismic sensors picked up activity, movement, machinery, people. The fortress existed directly beneath public space. 5-story bunker under shopping mall, 150 cartel soldiers, $100 million construction. Comment if you think underground fortresses beneath public spaces deserve terrorism charges. Investigation began with construction anomaly. Building inspectors noticed something wrong. Gateway Mall expansion project. New parking structure. City approved. Construction started. But excavation was excessive. Much deeper than plans showed. Much more extensive. Materials delivered exceeded requirements, substantially, suspiciously. Inspector reported concerns. City investigated, found inconsistencies. Permits didn't match actual work. Contractors claimed plan changes, approved by engineers, but documentation was missing or forged. Red flags everywhere. City halted construction, demanded answers. Contractors disappeared overnight. Equipment abandoned. Site sealed. Investigation intensified. Federal involvement began when organized crime connection emerged. Construction company was Shell Corporation. Ownership traced to cartel members. project wasn't mall expansion, was bunker construction, using legitimate city permits as cover, excavating beneath existing structure while shoppers walked above. Families shopped, children played. Fortress was being built underneath. Special Agent David Torres coordinated response, ATF Strategic Intelligence Division. 21 years investigating cartel infrastructure. He'd seen safe houses, drug labs, weapons caches, but 5-story fortress beneath shopping mall? This is unprecedented, Torres told his team. Not just hide drugs or weapons, built military base under public space, permanent infrastructure, strategic positioning. This suggests long-term planning, territorial control. This requires maximum federal response, military cooperation, complete destruction. Hit like if you believe all large construction projects need federal monitoring. Technology revealed complete structure. Advanced ground-penetrating radar mapped every level, every room, every tunnel. Engineering was sophisticated, professional grade, not amateur digging. Structural engineers, mining experts, military construction specialists. Cartel hired best, paid millions, created masterpiece. Underground fortress worthy of nation-state, not criminal organization. Structural analysis raised concerns. Bunker was directly beneath mall foundation. Compromised structural integrity. Building could collapse. Any day, any moment. 5,000 daily visitors at risk. Shopping above while foundation was undermined. Danger was immediate, urgent, terrifying. Evacuation was discussed, but would alert cartel, trigger violence. Different approach needed. Intelligence from cartel defector confirmed worst fears. They called it La Fortaleza, the fortress. Built over 3 years, cost $100 million. Holds 50 tons drugs, thousands of weapons. 150 soldiers live there permanently, never leave. Trained, armed, ready to fight. They planned last stand location if war came, if government attacked. Fortress was where they'd make final defense, beneath families, using mall as shield. That information changed everything. This wasn't just infrastructure, was strategic military installation, designed for warfare, positioned beneath civilians, using public as human shields. Terrorism considerations applied, enhanced charges, maximum penalties, death penalty for leadership. Planning required military expertise. Army Corps of Engineers assessed structural risks. Explosive ordnance teams planned bunker breach. Special operations forces prepared for armed resistance. This wasn't standard law enforcement raid. It was military operation, urban warfare scenario, underground combat against fortified enemy, using civilian population as cover. Mall evacuation planning was critical. 5,000 visitors, 200 stores. Couldn't announce raid. Would cause panic, stampede, casualties. Couldn't proceed with civilians present. Would endanger innocents. Solution was coordinated deception. Fire alarm. Building evacuation. Standard procedure. Nobody panics. Everyone leaves orderly. Mall clears. Then assault begins. February 10th. Execute date. Sunday afternoon. Peak shopping time. Maximum occupancy. Evacuation would be most challenging, but necessary. Bunker assault couldn't wait. Structural engineers warned imminent collapse risk. Building could fall, killing thousands. Timing was critical, dangerous, essential. 2 p.m. Fire alarm activated. Attention shoppers, building evacuation in progress. Please exit calmly through marked exits. This is not a drill. Families gathered belongings. Stores secured registers. Everyone moved toward exits. Security guards directed traffic. Federal agents disguised shoppers, ensuring orderly evacuation, preventing panic, protecting civilians. 30 minutes. Mall was empty. Perimeter secured. No entry. Area isolated. Tactical teams positioned. Engineers ready. Medical staged. This was moment 11 months built toward. 150 armed cartel soldiers, 5 stories underground, beneath empty shopping mall, about to face federal assault. Explosive breaching began. Parking garage floor. Precisely placed charges, controlled detonations. Opening access to level 1. ATF, federal agents, surrender immediately! Response was gunfire, automatic weapons, grenades. Soldiers fought back. Tactical teams returned fire, suppressing resistance. Advancing carefully, room by room, floor by floor. Too dangerous or necessary assault on underground fortress. Comment D or N. Level 1 secured after 40 minutes. 8 cartel soldiers killed, 12 wounded, 6 surrendered. Vehicle bay was cleared. Armored cars captured. Weapons trucks seized. Evidence preserved. Assault continued downward. Level 2. Drug storage. Less resistance. Guards surrendered. Understood futility. 52 tons of narcotics secured. Cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, fentanyl. Street value, $2.6 billion. Largest single-location drug seizure in ATF history. All discovered beneath shopping mall, where families bought school clothes. Level 3. Weapons armory. Heavy resistance. Soldiers defended arsenal. Rocket fire. Machine guns. Grenades. Battle intensified. Special operations teams deployed. Superior training. Better equipment. Overwhelming force. After 2 hours, level secured. 23 cartel soldiers killed. 18 surrendered. Arsenal captured. Thousands of weapons. Enough to arm small army. All stored beneath movie theater, where children watched cartoons. Level 4. Living quarters. Remaining soldiers gathered, barricaded, final defense. Negotiators attempted communication. Surrender, no escape. Mall is surrounded. Reinforcements won't come. You'll die or surrender. Choose life. Some soldiers emerged, hands up, surrendering. Others fought, died fighting. After 3 hours, level secured. Casualties rose, but federal forces prevailed. Level 5. Command Center. Leadership located. Final assault. Cartel leaders armed, determined. ATF, last warning. Surrender now. Response was defiance. Gunfire, explosives. Battle was intense. Close quarters, underground, dark, dangerous. But training prevailed. Technology dominated. Leadership was captured or killed. Resistance ended. Total battle, 6 hours. Longest underground assault in federal law enforcement history. Cartel casualties, 73 killed, 89 captured. Federal casualties, 4 agents wounded, none killed. Superior training, better equipment, overwhelming force, perfect execution, complete victory. Which is worse? A. Building bunker under mall. B. Using civilians as shields. C. Both equal? Evidence seized was staggering. 52 tons of drugs, thousands of weapons, communications equipment, financial records, strategic planning documents. Everything documented, preserved, photographed. The fortress that cost $100 million became largest evidence collection in ATF history. Structural engineers assessed damage. Battle compromised some supports. But mall foundation was stable. Repairs possible. Building salvageable. But psychological damage was permanent. Who would shop knowing cartel fortress existed beneath? Mall closed permanently. Too contaminated. Too associated with violence. Building was demolished 6 months later. Federal prosecutors filed charges in Western District of Texas. Evidence overwhelming. Physical fortress. Captured soldiers. Leadership testimony. Financial records. Engineering documents. Defense was impossible. Defendants built military base beneath shopping mall. Used civilians as shields. Planned warfare in public space. Terrorism charges applied. Enhanced penalties. Death penalty for leadership. Trials emphasized civilian endangerment. Defendants built fortress beneath families, used shopping mall as shield, stored weapons under movie theater, kept drugs beneath food court. When federal agents attacked, they fought back, knowing civilians could return, not caring about innocence. This is terrorism, demands death penalty. Lead cartel member received death sentence. Carlos Mendez, age 47. Ordered fortress construction, supervised operations, commanded soldiers. His use of civilians as shields earned capital punishment. Others received life without parole. Soldiers got 30 to 50 years. Everyone imprisoned. Organization destroyed. If you believe building fortresses beneath public spaces deserves death penalty, type SWAT power. The 150 captured soldiers faced varying prosecution. Some were hardened fighters, career criminals, willing participants, received harsh sentences. Others were low-level, forced recruitment, coerced participation, received lighter sentences. Justice considered context, individual circumstances, but accountability was absolute. Mall site was cleared. Bunker was filled with concrete. Every level, every room, every tunnel, pumped full, solidified, made permanent tomb. Memorial installed above, recognizing danger that existed, warning about cartel boldness, ensuring history remembered. Legislative action followed. Enhanced construction oversight. Federal monitoring of deep excavation. Mandatory permits for underground work. Background checks on construction companies. The systemic failures allowing bunker construction were addressed comprehensively. El Paso implemented changes. Random inspections of large projects. Geologic surveys required. Underground scanning mandatory. Future fortresses would be detected, prevented, destroyed before completion, before endangerment. Technology improvements implemented. Advanced ground-penetrating radar deployed citywide. Regular scanning, continuous monitoring. Any large underground void detected immediately. Investigated thoroughly. Prevented absolutely. Intelligence from seized documents led to additional operations. Identified other potential bunker sites, suppliers, engineers, financiers. Follow-up investigations continued for years, dozens of additional arrests. Fortress destruction was beginning, not ending. Mendez sits on death row. His fortress that endangered thousands earned death penalty. 100 million spent, 52 tons stored, 150 soldiers garrisoned, 6-hour battle fought. His terrorism beneath shopping mall sealed his fate. Execution awaits. Justice for every family who shopped above his fortress. Unknowing, endangered, betrayed. Operation Underground Commerce proved that public space violations bring maximum punishment. Fortresses can be found. Technology reveals everything. When ATF targets civilian endangerment, outcome is certain. Death penalty, complete destruction, public protection. This is what happens when cartels build beneath shopping malls. This is what ATF achieves, protecting public spaces. This is why using civilians as shields brings death penalty. You can excavate 5 stories. You can spend 100 million. You can garrison 150 soldiers. You can think civilians protect you. They condemn you. Federal response is enhanced, not deterred. Terrorism charges apply. Death penalty follows. Always.
32 in the morning, a convoy of unmarked vehicles rolled silently through the rural darkness of Grand Forks, North Dakota. No headlights, no sirens, only the low hum of engines and the faint crackle of encrypted radio transmissions cutting through the cold prairie air. Federal agents from the FBI, alongside personnel from military intelligence units, had spent months preparing for this moment. Their target was not a traditional criminal hideout or a known terror cell. It was a sprawling agricultural facility, a corn processing plant, purchased just 3 years earlier by a Chinese-owned company. On paper, everything appeared legitimate. Business licenses were filed. Permits were obtained. Local officials had welcomed the investment. But beneath that veneer of normalcy, something far more dangerous was taking root. And on this night, the United States government decided it was time to dig it out. The operation that unfolded in the pre-dawn hours would expose one of the most audacious foreign intelligence operations ever conducted on American soil. A network of operatives embedded within a commercial enterprise, operating less than 12 miles from one of the most sensitive military installations in the country. What agents discovered inside would send shockwaves through the national security establishment and force a complete reassessment of how foreign adversaries exploit American openness. This is the story of how the FBI and military personnel stormed a so-called Chinese farm and uncovered a sophisticated espionage infrastructure hidden in plain sight. The investigation began not with a dramatic tip or a defector's confession, but with something far more mundane. Unusual signal patterns. Analysts at the National Security Agency first flagged anomalies in electromagnetic emissions emanating from a location in northeastern North Dakota. The readings were inconsistent with standard agricultural equipment. Frequencies that should not exist near grain silos and processing facilities were being detected at odd hours, particularly during windows that coincided with sensitive military operations at Grand Forks Air Force Base. That base is home to some of the most advanced drone and satellite operations in the United States military arsenal. Global Hawk surveillance platforms operate from its runways. Space tracking systems monitor objects orbiting the planet. Communication networks that coordinate assets across multiple continents are housed within its secure facilities. In short, Grand Forks is a crown jewel of American intelligence and reconnaissance capability, and less than 12 miles away, a Chinese-owned company had established what it described as a corn milling operation. The timeline of the acquisition raised immediate red flags when investigators began their work. The purchase occurred in 2021, during a period of heightened tension between Washington and Beijing over technology transfers and espionage activities. The buyer was a subsidiary of a larger corporation with documented ties to the Chinese government. Land records showed the property encompassed nearly 300 acres, far more than would be necessary for the stated commercial purpose. Local residents had noticed oddities from the beginning. Construction crews worked at unusual hours. Shipments arrived in unmarked containers. The facility employed far more personnel than similar operations in the region, and those employees rarely interacted with the surrounding community. Some residents described seeing antenna arrays being installed, structures that seemed inconsistent with agricultural processing. But it was the signal's intelligence that truly alarmed federal authorities. Analysis revealed that transmissions from the property appeared to correlate with flight schedules at the airbase. When sensitive aircraft were conducting operations, activity at the facility spiked. The pattern was too consistent to be coincidental. The FBI opened a formal counterintelligence investigation in late 2023. What they uncovered over the following months would confirm their worst suspicions. Surveillance teams established covert observation posts around the perimeter of the property. Drones equipped with thermal imaging flew patterns overhead during nighttime hours. Wiretaps were obtained on communication lines connected to the facility. Slowly, a picture began to emerge of an operation that had nothing to do with corn. Investigators identified at least 50 individuals connected to the site who possessed backgrounds inconsistent with agricultural work. Many held advanced degrees in electrical engineering, telecommunications, and computer science. Several had previous employment with Chinese state-owned enterprises involved in defense and aerospace sectors. Background checks revealed that a significant number had entered the United States on business or student visas, later transitioning to employment at the facility through what appeared to be a coordinated placement process. The facility itself was far more than it seemed. Satellite imagery analyzed by military intelligence revealed underground construction that had not been disclosed in any building permits. Thermal signatures suggested the presence of significant electronic equipment operating beneath the surface. The so-called corn processing plant was, in reality, a sophisticated signals intelligence collection station designed to intercept and analyze communications from the nearby airbase. What made this operation particularly audacious was its scale and permanence. This was not a temporary surveillance post or a mobile collection platform that could be relocated if detected. The Chinese government, operating through cutout companies and carefully constructed commercial fronts, had invested tens of millions of dollars to establish a permanent intelligence foothold on American soil. They had done so by exploiting the very openness that defines the American economy, purchasing land through legal channels, obtaining permits through standard processes, and hiding in plain sight as just another foreign investment in American agriculture. The decision to move from investigation to action came after intelligence analysts determined that the facility was actively collecting information on drone flight patterns and satellite communication protocols. The potential damage to national security was assessed as severe and ongoing. Every day the operation continued. Sensitive information was potentially being transmitted to Beijing. Planning for the raid involved unprecedented coordination between civilian and military authorities. The FBI would lead the operation, but personnel from Air Force Office of Special Investigations and elements of military intelligence would participate. The proximity to an active military installation meant that any operation had to be carefully choreographed to avoid interference with base security protocols. On the night of the raid, more than 200 federal agents and military personnel assembled at staging areas throughout the region. Helicopters were positioned for aerial surveillance and rapid response. Communication jamming equipment was ready to prevent the facility from transmitting warnings or destroying evidence remotely. Every approach route was mapped. Every contingency was planned. At 4:32 in the morning, the operation commenced. The first wave of agents breached the main gate simultaneously with teams entering through secondary access points along the perimeter. The element of surprise was complete. Security personnel at the facility were overwhelmed within seconds. Commands in English echoed across the compound as agents swept through buildings, securing occupants and seizing electronic equipment. What they found inside exceeded even their worst projections. Beneath the main processing structure, agents discovered a reinforced underground chamber that had been completely invisible from the surface. Inside were rows of sophisticated electronic equipment, signal interception systems capable of capturing transmissions across multiple frequency bands. Analysis would later confirm that these systems were specifically configured to monitor communications emanating from Grand Forks Air Force Base. The chamber also contained data storage systems holding terabytes of intercepted information. Preliminary review revealed flight logs, communication intercepts, and detailed technical specifications of surveillance platforms operating from the base. The intelligence value of this material was incalculable. It represented years of patient collection, a comprehensive picture of American reconnaissance capabilities in the region. Adjacent to the main collection center, agents found what could only be described as an operations room. Workstations were arranged before large display screens. Maps of the air base and surrounding military facilities covered the walls. Documents in Mandarin detailed collection priorities and reporting protocols. This was not an improvised operation. It was a professional intelligence station, staffed and equipped to function indefinitely. Personnel at the facility attempted various responses as agents moved through the complex. Some tried to flee through emergency exits, only to find those routes already secured. Others attempted to destroy equipment and documents, smashing hard drives and burning papers. A few barricaded themselves in secure rooms, requiring tactical teams to force entry. Throughout the operation, agents maintained discipline and control, ensuring that evidence was preserved and individuals were detained without serious injury. By dawn, the facility was fully secured. 53 individuals were in federal custody. Trucks loaded with seized equipment and documents lined the access roads. The scope of the seizure was staggering. Intelligence analysts estimated it would take months to fully catalog and assess the material recovered. The legal process that followed moved with unusual speed, reflecting the severity of the national security implications. Federal prosecutors filed charges under the Espionage Act, alleging that the individuals detained had engaged in conspiracy to gather and transmit defense information to a foreign government. Additional charges included violations of the Foreign Agents Registration Act and various immigration fraud statutes related to the deceptive means used to place operatives at the facility. Investigators traced the financial architecture supporting the operation through a maze of shell companies spanning multiple countries. Funds had flowed from accounts in Hong Kong through intermediaries in Singapore and the Cayman Islands before arriving in the United States as seemingly legitimate business investment. The complexity of the financial structure demonstrated the resources and expertise that had been devoted to concealing the operation's true purpose. The diplomatic implications were immediate and severe. The State Department summoned the Chinese ambassador for what officials described as a direct and unambiguous conversation regarding the incident. Beijing initially denied any government involvement, characterizing the facility as a private commercial enterprise and the arrests as politically motivated harassment. This denial was met with skepticism in Washington, where officials pointed to the documented ties between the operating company and Chinese state entities. The discovery forced a comprehensive review of foreign land purchases near sensitive military installations across the country. Congressional committees demanded briefings. Legislation was introduced to enhance screening of agricultural land acquisitions by foreign entities. The Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States announced new protocols for evaluating purchases within designated distances of military facilities. For the intelligence community, the case represented both a success and a sobering warning. The operation had been detected and dismantled. 50 individuals who had been actively working against American interests were now in custody. Vast quantities of intelligence material had been recovered, providing invaluable insight into Chinese collection priorities and methods. but the operation had also functioned for years before detection. The facility had been established, staffed, and operated while passing every standard review and inspection. The Chinese government had demonstrated the patience and resources to invest in long-term intelligence infrastructure on American soil, exploiting the fundamental openness of American society and commerce. Military officials emphasized that the proximity of the facility to Grand Forks Air Force Base was not coincidental. The base hosts capabilities that are central to American global surveillance and reconnaissance. Understanding the flight patterns, communication protocols, and technical specifications of systems operating from that installation would provide significant advantage to any adversary. The potential compromise represented by years of collection was assessed as substantial, though the full extent of damage may never be publicly known. The individuals detained face decades in federal prison if convicted. Prosecutors have indicated they will seek maximum sentences, sending a clear message about the consequences of espionage activities on American soil. Legal proceedings are expected to extend over multiple years, with some defendants potentially offered reduced sentences in exchange for cooperation that could expose additional networks. For residents of Grand Forks and the surrounding region, the revelation that a foreign intelligence operation had been functioning in their community prompted a range of reactions. Some expressed anger at the audacity of the operation. Others questioned how such an obvious threat could have been missed for so long. Many simply felt unsettled by the realization that the global competition between nations had arrived quite literally in their backyard. Federal officials were clear in their public statements following the operation. This case was not an isolated incident. It represented a pattern of behavior by the Chinese government to embed collection capabilities within American society through commercial and academic cover. Similar investigations are ongoing in other locations. Additional actions should be anticipated. The message to Beijing was equally direct. The United States possesses the capability and the will to detect and dismantle foreign intelligence operations regardless of how they are disguised. Commercial fronts, legal purchases, and patient construction do not provide immunity. When national security is threatened, the response will be decisive. What unfolded in North Dakota on that cold morning was more than a successful raid. It was a demonstration that the traditional boundaries between commercial activity and national security have dissolved. Foreign adversaries study American systems with the same care that American businesses study foreign markets. They exploit openness as a vulnerability. They rely on assumptions that legitimate appearances equal legitimate purposes. This case shattered those assumptions. It proved that vigilance must extend beyond traditional security perimeters into the realm of commerce, land use, and investment. It demonstrated that threats do not always arrive with obvious warning signs. Sometimes they arrive with business licenses and building permits, settling quietly into the landscape while conducting operations that undermine the very nation that welcomed them. The corn that never grew on that North Dakota property was meant to be a cover story, a simple explanation for a complex and hostile operation. What federal agents harvested instead was evidence of one of the most ambitious espionage efforts ever attempted on American soil. And as investigators continue to process the material seized that morning, one conclusion has become unavoidable. This was not the first such operation. It will not be the last. The only question...
Un saludo, hermanos y hermanas, desde el monasterio de la Luz de Nuestra Señora de Fátima. Hoy quería yo, bueno, ya habéis visto, ¿no?, la línea que llevo, ¿no?, con los últimos vídeos, ¿no? Yo la verdad, como sé que sois todos bastante inteligentes, salvando por alguna excepción, alguien que se deje caer por aquí en alguna ocasión, pues bueno. Pero sé que la mayoría de todos sois inteligentes, ¿no? Y lo que trato con todos estos vídeos, ya habéis visto que cada uno pues trata un tema determinado, ¿no? Estados Unidos, ¿no? Y la verdad lo que pretendo es que la gente que vea estos vídeos, pues saque sus conclusiones, ¿no? Es algo como que siempre, ya sabéis que durante mucho tiempo, vamos a decir mucho tiempo, ha estado reinando el mal, ¿no? Y han elaborado, ¿no? Pues a lo largo del tiempo, pues muchas instalaciones, ¿no? Yo lo que quiero con esto es para esto mismo, ¿no? Para que todas esas instalaciones, pues, sean tomadas, ¿no? Por parte de la luz azul, ¿no? Es lo que pretendo, ¿no? Ya sabéis que el maligno a lo largo del tiempo, pues bueno, ha tenido muchas bases operativas, ¿no? A nivel mundial, ¿no? Están las bases secretas, ¿no? Que siempre hay, bueno, han existido desde el principio, ¿no? Entonces yo con todo esto lo que quiero es justamente eso, ¿no? Que no quedarnos solamente en la ciudad, ¿no? Tenemos que salir más allá de la ciudad, ¿no? Y es precisamente a todo este tipo de instalaciones que hay ocultas, ¿no? Por todo el territorio nacional, ¿no? Y cambiarlas, hay que cambiarlas, tienen que cambiar de manos. Es algo que esto es así. Tenemos que tomar el control de todo esto, ¿no? Y por eso son todos estos vídeos, ¿no? Cada uno trata un tema, ¿no? De Estados Unidos, ¿no? Pero bueno, como yo sé que cogéis, digamos, las cosas al vuelo, ¿no? De lo que quiero trasladar, ¿no? Con estos vídeos, ¿no? Que es precisamente es eso, ¿no? De todos estos sitios que se han ido construyendo a lo largo del tiempo, ¿no? Y han sido utilizados, ¿no? Pues para todo el tema operativo, ¿no? Del mal, ¿no? A nivel, dependiendo de las ubicaciones, pues así han sido, ¿no? Yo lo que quiero también es con todo esto, ¿no? De ser que seamos conscientes, ¿no? Seamos conscientes, ¿no? De que muchas veces no tiene por qué ser una base secreta, ¿no? Puede estar justamente al lado de la panadería y no darte cuenta, ¿no? Esto es algo que también hay que empezar a alzar la voz, ¿no? Porque voy a contar el caso más anecdótico que tengo, que es cuando yo todavía estaba en Móstoles, ¿no? Era una instalación china, ¿no? Y el caso era que estaba justamente, bueno, en el polígono, ¿no? Ya sabéis que los chinos se dedican, su mayor, digamos, economía es el tráfico de órganos, ¿no? Pues por aquí van los tiros, ¿no? El caso es que fue un hombre mayor, ¿no? A última hora ya prácticamente, ¿no? Entró en la tienda, ¿no? Porque necesitaba algo, ¿no? La mujer se quedó fuera, ¿no? Que yo creo que fue lo que le salvó la situación también, ¿no? Y por eso pudo llamar a la policía, ¿no? Y el hombre salvarse, pero que le tenían preparado ya, pues para sacarle algún órgano. Pues a esto es a lo que vengo yo también, porque estas cosas antes sucedían, ¿no? En países, no sé cómo decirlo, si del tercer mundo, como se suele decir, o creo que eso es un error por parte de todos, ¿no? Creo que el maligno se ha infiltrado, ¿no? En la sociedad, en todo lo que es la economía, ¿no? De los países, ¿no? Y luego ya sabéis que, bueno, siempre han estado exentos, ¿no? De muchos pagos, ¿no? Ahí tienen también tratos especiales, ¿no? Porque quien ha reinado aquí, hasta que está reinando aquí, es el mal. Y entre ellos hacen sus negocios. Yo te facilito esto, yo a cambio te doy otra cosa, ¿no? Bueno, es algo que todos sabemos y funciona así, ¿no? Por eso también muchas veces hay que empezar, ¿no? Pues ahora con la IA, ¿no? Que está tan de moda, ¿no? A crear, digamos, pues cruces, ¿no? Cruces de información, ¿no? De tantas cosas, ¿no? Para sacar todo. Tenemos que sacar toda la oscuridad, ¿no? Que se ha incrustado, ¿no? Pues en el sistema, ¿no? Y muchas veces, qué mejor, ¿no? Que hacer un sistema nuevo, pues con carreteras nuevas, caminos nuevos y todo bien, y volver desde el principio, pues a que las cosas sean de otra manera, muy diferente, ¿no? A como han sido hasta ahora, ¿no? Por eso todos estos vídeos van en esa línea, ¿no? De despertar conciencia, ¿no? para desenmascarar todo lo que hay aquí metido dentro de España, ¿no? Allí, por ejemplo, también hay muchas cosas muy malas, muy desagradables, ¿no? Como en todos los países, ¿no? Pero eso es lo que tienen que hacer todos los gobiernos a nivel planetario, pues, para acabar con el mal, ¿no? Que en lo que estamos, ¿no? Destrucción del mal en todo, y toma de control de todas las instalaciones que hay que se han estado utilizando pues para hacer el mal, como todos sabéis, ¿no? Y poco más, hermanos y hermanas. Un saludo del monasterio de la Luz de Nuestra Señora de Fátima. ¡Mua!